Greetings, Phoenix fans. My name is David Sanders, and it is my distinct honor to welcome you to the Civilization 6 guide that I've been promising to make for several months now, and I'm only just getting around to. You might remember that I mentioned I was going to make this guide in an editorial I wrote shortly after Gathering Storm released, which was almost a year ago now, but at that time I didn't know when we would be launching the YouTube channel and what my situation would be, and excuses. Let's just focus on the fact that in the here and now I'm actually making the guide, and hopefully you'll benefit from it, eh? So, we're going to start with the base game. I'll cover how that works, and for those of you who have either the Rise and Fall or Gathering Storm expansions, or both, my coverage of those will come after this guide completes. Since we're starting from the ground up in the base game, I figured the best way to kick things off would be to demonstrate how to set up a game, so let's get into that, shall we? So I'm going to go to Single Player, Create Game. Since we're covering the base game with no expansions, we're going to set it to Standard Rules. We're going to set the game difficulty to Warlord, I suppose, just to make sure things aren't too difficult. I haven't played the base game with no expansions in quite a while, so I don't want to get overwhelmed immediately. Game speed I always set to online because I'm not one of those people who likes their civ games to take longer than they need to. So, online is the fastest, marathon is obviously the slowest. See that? 200% slower. But online is a double standard speed game. I usually leave the map type on continents or Pangaea, but I'll show you what we've got to work with just in case you're curious. So True Start Location Earth is also a good one in my opinion, if you know specifically what civ you're going to play and how you're going to go about winning. Alright, and so as I said, I usually leave this on either... Where's continents? There it is. I usually leave it on this one, or on Pangaea. For the purposes of this guide, I'm going to leave it on continents. I'll probably shake things up when I get to covering Rise and Fall and Gathering Storm. And for map size, we're going to go with a standard-sized map for 8 players. And then... oh, we forgot to pick a leader. We'll get to that in a second. If this setup is all you want to customize, you can click Start Game. If not, as I always do, you can go to Advanced Setup to customize everything else. So over here we have all 8 civs who will appear in the game. We haven't picked any of those yet, but we'll get to that before we start the game, obviously. Up here we have our rule set, our game difficulty, our start era, and our game speed, which we've already set. I always start, especially for guides like this, in the Ancient Era. But here are all the eras you can choose to start in if you don't want to do that. City-states, you can customize the number of city-states that are available in the game based on the map size, I believe, unless... yeah, based on the map size. So the maximum for a standard-sized map is 18. I'm going to leave this at the default 12, although you can just turn off city-states entirely if you wish. Alright, we've set our map and our map size, so we don't have to worry about that. Resources. You get to choose how many resources are on the map. Pretty straightforward. I usually set this to abundant, just for more fun. That's what I find more fun, at least. World Age. You get to choose if you want a map with more hills, mountains, and volcanoes in the form of a new map, or a map with fewer of those on an old map. I usually just leave this on standard. Okay, so temperature. You'll have more desert and fewer tundra and snow tiles. Cold is the opposite, as you might expect. I also leave this on standard. And sea level. Just amount of water on the map, really. Nothing too fancy about that. Now here we're getting into the technical stuff. So here are the 5 victory types that are available in the base game. I always turn off score victory just because I don't like it. But for the culture victory, you have to basically make it so that your civilization is so cultural that every other civ in the game starts to emulate what your people do, which, as the game will tell you, is the most difficult victory to achieve. Domination victory is pretty straightforward. You have to use your military might to capture the original capital cities of every other civ in the game to win. Religious victory, you have to turn the religion that you've found into basically the world religion by spreading it to every other city, or at least every other civ in the game, without doing this enough to anger every other civ to the point that they decide to annihilate you as retribution. And the science victory. Basically, in the base game, all you have to do is colonize Mars rather than the changes that this victory mode undergoes in Rise and Fall and Gathering Storm. I might go for a science victory this game just to show you how that works. I don't know. We'll figure things out as we go along. I also turn off turn limit, just because I don't want to be arbitrarily limited in this guide, because I want to cover everything in detail. Barbarians and tribal villages I'm going to leave on so that I can show you how they operate. And now we can pick our civs. I'm just going to arbitrarily pick these, and I'll go into detail about each civ's, about how a civ has unique units and districts and whatnot as I pick my own civ. So I'm going to pick, I don't know, Macedon, Persia, Greece. Greece is the only civ in the base game, by the way, who has 2 leaders you can pick from. I just picked Gorgo, the more militaristic of the two, but here's Pericles, the more culture-focused of the duo. And then I'm going to pick Australia, England, America, who is all the way down here. Oops, if I could just click on that. There we go. And then who shall I pick last? Russia, why not? I should mention at this point that I bought the Digital Deluxe edition of the game when I first bought it, so I have a few extra DLC civs that you might not have if you're just starting out, namely Australia, Macedon, and a few others who currently escape me. This one's a DLC civ, I believe Persia is as well. These guys are definitely a DLC civ. I believe the Aztecs are as well. And if I'm missing any, I'm sorry, I genuinely don't remember. I think, for the purposes of this game, that I'm going to pick Rome, who's all the way down here under Trajan. So, over here to the right, you can see my civ's unique passive abilities, units, and district. So, in my case, since I'm Rome, and this is the base game with no expansions, I have a monument in all my cities immediately after settling them, which is nice, because that's a bonus to culture. All cities I found or conquer start with a trading post, which is very nice for gold generation purposes. And roads to cities also, as you might expect, speed up transport between both troops and trade routes alike. The Roman Legion is, of course, a classic unit in Civ. So I'll be demonstrating those, because you can get them early on in the game as Rome. And the Bath District, which replaces the Aqueduct. You can see what that does right under the, right under the description, but I'll show you how it works in practice when we get into the game. So I think I've dawdled and yammered enough, so why don't we just get straight into the game, and so I can start demonstrating how things work, shall we? Thanks to the magic of video editing, you don't even have to sit through the loading screen with me if you don't want to. So here goes nothing. Alright, so here we are. You can see that I've got a warrior, which is your very basic ancient-era melee combat unit, and a settler, which is used for founding cities. Not all that much to say at this point, so I'm just going to go ahead and have my settler found our capital. And at this point, you have a choice. you can either send your warriors out to explore with this button, or by manually guiding them to where you want them to go, or you can have your warriors garrison in your capital city to defend it in case any barbarians or enemy civs show up, and make a recon unit to go explore in their stead. I think I'm going to go with the latter for this purpose, just to make things easier and safer on my capital city. So now that my warriors are sitting in Rome, I can click either of these buttons to get them to defend it and garrison in the city. I'm going to go with Fortify. Alert would mean that they would automatically stop fortifying as soon as they saw an enemy, but you don't necessarily always want that. Sometimes you want your unit to remain fortified so that it gains increased defenses over time. So up here, you have the production choice screen. You can make units and buildings with either production, purchase them with gold, or purchase them with faith. Or you have a production queue, which allows you to, well, queue up several things to be produced in succession within a city. This was added to the base game and all of its DLC in a later patch. This was, I believe, not exclusive to one of the expansion packs, thankfully, because a lot of people, from my understanding, have been clamoring for a production queue, the return of a production queue from past Civ games. So I'm going to start by making a scout, and then a couple of builders, and then another scout, and then to finish off a slinger, just in case. So now we can choose our first research. You can choose from any of these, and it tells you over here how long it'll take to finish. Since we have stone in our territory, we could build quarries on that if we had the mining technology, but I think it would be best for now if we started with pottery to help our city grow by generating more food. So we're going to go with that, and end our turn. There's really not going to be much to say for these first few turns until my cities start.
Man is the noblest of all animals. Separated from law and justice, he is the worst.
So that's Sean Bean narrating, if you couldn't tell. I was saying there's not going to be much to discuss until my cities start generating buildings and units and whatnot, so... But since we've just finished researching the Code of Laws Civic, which you start automatically as soon as you found your first city in the Ancient Era, we can now change our social policies, of which we currently have none, because we just researched that Civic. So let's do that. You have in a chiefdom government, which you start out with as soon as you research that Civic in the Ancient Era, you have access to one military policy slot and one economic policy slot, unless you're playing as a civ, like, say, Greece, that has an extra policy slot in any government. If I were playing as Greece, I would have a wildcard policy slot down here that I could use for anything. But for now, I'm going to pick Discipline in case we run into any barbarians, and I'm going to pick God King so that we can start generating some faith and eventually found a Pantheon. I'll show you how that works when the time comes. And now for our next civic, I'm going to choose foreign trade, I suppose, because we don't have any builders yet to...
No man ever wetted clay and then left it, as if there would be bricks by chance and fortune.
Yes, Sean Bean. What was I saying? Oh yes, we don't have any builders yet to help us speed up the craftsmanship civic. So now that we've researched pottery, every time you research a civic or tech, you'll get icons like this underneath it that shows you what having researched the relevant civic or tech unlocks. So now we can start generating more food and housing with these, and we can harvest wheat and rice tiles, of which I don't believe we have any, but I'd show you how that worked if we did. And now since we have a scout, our first recon unit, I'm just going to click this button to send it to automatically explore the nearby terrain and see what there is to see. And then we're going to pick our next technology. I think it'd be best if we went with animal husbandry for now, just to, so we can start making pastures and see if there are, any usable tiles of animals on the map, which there are cattle over here. So when we incorporate that tile into our territory eventually, we can make pastures on that and generate bonus food and whatnot. Oh, a barbarian scout has found our territory. So, barbarian recon units will scout out the nearby terrain from their encampment, just as our scout is currently doing. And when they encounter an enemy unit or city, they will run back to their encampment, unless they're killed on the way, and report its location to more barbarians, who will then start to head toward that unit and or city to see if they can destroy it. So we're gonna scare off this barbarian scout by using our warriors. See, he's taken off towards his encampment.
If there are no dogs in heaven, then when I die, I want to go where they went.
Indeed. Alright, so now we're gonna get... I think we should get astrology. Just so we can possibly get Stonehenge, which would be nice as a wonder, or at the very least start making holy sites to generate some faith. There's that barbarian scout again. Alright, so we've unlocked the ability to create traders. So I'll do that as soon as I can to demonstrate how that system works. We're about to have some builders, so we can start on craftsmanship. Go get 'em, boys. Alright, that barbarian scout won't be reporting anything to its barbarian brethren. But our scout could use some help, it looks like, although Rome is currently facing a barbarian scout, another one, so we should probably go defend that. So now that we have some builders, there is a big difference between Civ 6 and its predecessor Civ 5 in that builders can construct tile improvements immediately, but they have limited build abilities. They have what they're called build charges, which means that after all their charges are expended by building tile improvements, the unit disappears and will have to be remade in order to continue making improvements. So I'm going to have our builder make a farm here, because it's good land for food production and housing as well. So our scout is going to go fight this slinger, see how he does. Alright, promotion available. I can discuss that next turn. Unless our scout... Nope, he survived. Okay. I was going to say unless he died before I could promote him. Smack 'em, lads. There you go. Alright, so I'm going to go up here and make a pasture on this tile of sheep. Alright, so you see, keep an eye on my scout's health here, which is right here. In Civ 5, when a unit earned a promotion, you had to choose between promoting that unit and healing it by 50 health. But thankfully in Civ 6, you no longer have to make that call, because promoting a unit automatically heals it by 50 HP as well. So I'm going to go with faster movement in woods and rainforest terrain. That seems more useful, and see how my scout healed by 50 HP just for picking that promotion, which may have skewed this fight in my favor, even though I'm fighting a ranged unit. Let's see. Alright, that could have gone better, but also could have gone much worse.
I don't believe in astrology. I'm a Sagittarius, and we're skeptical.
I see what you did there, Arthur C. Clarke. Okay, so I'm going to build a pasture on this tile of sheep, which gives me +1 production and half a unit of housing. And building a pasture just got me what's called a Eureka, which will help me research the horseback riding tech, in this case, more quickly than I would normally be able to. Civics have something similar in the form of... I forget what they're called. We'll figure it out. I haven't thought about that in quite a while, because I've just been kind of automating. Let's see if my scout survives this.
Here, the dark brown amorphous basalt. There, the red ochre. And below that again, the slender but distinct lines of the wood coal.
Sweet, I killed the Barbarian and found a natural wonder. Uh-oh. Okay, you need to get out of there, because you're about to get annihilated if you don't. But we can't move you until next turn, unfortunately. Let's get irrigation. And there goes my scout. I expected that.
And gives us many useful objects, such as wickerwork picnic baskets.
So this civic unlocked a couple more policies that we can choose from, but we don't really need to do that right now because I'm quite content with the policies that we have. So these guys are going to get sent back to Rome to garrison the city again. And then these guys are going to come over here and build a farm on that tile of rice. And then let's go with mysticism, I suppose, as our next civic. Alright, so we can promote our warriors, so let's do that. I always go with this one first, in case the enemy has any ranged units that are proving particularly troublesome. Alright, I'm going to send these guys over here to make another farm. Okay. And then a unit needs orders. You'll see this a lot, probably, if you're as forgetful as I am. So we're going to have you guys build a farm. That got us the Eureka for irrigation, which means it'll be done next turn, which is fantastic.
Thousands have lived without love. Not one without water.
Indeed. Alright, so you guys are going to fortify in the city. You guys are going to go make a plantation on that citrus. We're going to get mining next, so we can get that stone. That's a lot of stone, actually. I haven't seen that much in one city in quite some time. And now we can make a Pantheon. So this is the precursor to the religion system. So we have to pick a Pantheon that gives us a buff of our choosing before we can make a religion. I'm going to go with City Patron Goddess. I usually go with either that, religious settlements, or fertility rites, depending on what civ I'm playing and what I need it to do. But since I don't have any districts as it is, I don't think, I'm gonna go with City Patron Goddess, just to help out our future cities as well as our capital. That got us the inspiration for the mysticism civic. That's what they're called, inspirations. I couldn't remember earlier, you might recall. So that'll be done next turn, which is fantastic.
Mysticism is the mistake of an accidental and individual symbol for a universal one.
Alright, so that unlocked a World Wonder and a couple of what are called wildcard social policies, which we'll get to that when we can change our government eventually. Which should be not too long from now. I'm gonna go with military tradition, because I feel like that would be best, considering we'll fight a lot of barbarians.
Who deserves more credit than the wife of a coal miner?
Alright. So that got us the ability to construct mines and quarries, as well as get rid of woods. So if I wanted to send a builder over to this tile, if it were in my territory to get rid of the woods, I could have them do that. Okay, so for our next tech, we're gonna get writing to speed up our science generation process. You guys are gonna make a plantation. You guys are gonna go off and explore. So citrus is considered a luxury resource, which gave us what's called an amenity, which you may have noticed that little red symbol that looked like a circus tent on our city title here. That means that the city does not have enough amenities to keep its people happy, which is a bad thing, because if you go without enough amenities for long enough, your citizens may start to rebel against you, which obviously you don't want that. So I'm going to send these guys over here to construct a quarry on that stone. Ka-jingle.
Welcome to the United States of America. If you conduct yourself well, you can consider us friends.
Sweet, we've met America. So now that we've met another civ, we have two different dialogue options. I call this the jerk option, and I never go with that because I don't want this civ I just met to immediately dislike me. And since one of their units is closer to our city when we were discovered than vice versa, we can invite them to visit our city. Otherwise, we would have an option that says it is an honor to meet you, and then they would invite us to their nearby city, just as a pleasantry. So I'm gonna invite them to our nearby city. They usually don't say no, as far as I've experienced. So that got us the Eureka for the writing tech, which will be done next turn now, so that's fantastic. So President Roosevelt just sent me a diplomatic delegation, which is considered an act of goodwill, but also gives him, should I accept, a level of what's called diplomatic visibility, which means he knows more about me, just from what he's been able to learn from sending his delegation and having it in my territory. So I'm going to return the favor here shortly if he allows it. I'm going to accept his delegation for now.
Writing means sharing. It's part of the human condition to want to share things.
Yes, yes. Okay, so Rome needs more amenities and housing based on its population. Housing isn't quite as big a deal as amenities. It just means that if you don't have enough housing, your city won't grow as quickly in terms of population, which can screw you over if you want to build more districts, but other than that, I've found that it's not too much of a concern. Alright, you guys are gonna go stand right there, just to be out of the way. You're gonna fortify. You guys are gonna build a quarry, which gives us the Eureka for masonry. Ah, dang it. I was gonna build Stonehenge. I was afraid of that. Oh well. Alright, so we're gonna get archery next, so we can better defend ourselves with ranged units. And since someone built the Stonehenge that I wanted, I'm going to build the Hanging Gardens instead. I'm going to buy a tile and put it right there. And in 12 turns, hopefully we'll have the Hanging Gardens. Oh, ka-jingle.
I don't underrate the value of military knowledge.
Who do we meet? The Geneva City-State. Okay, and what do they want? They want us to construct a holy site. Alright, we'll get on that as soon as we can. We're gonna go for Early Empire as our next civic, because that'll allow us to enforce our borders so that no other civs can just march their units through as if they own the place, unless we have an agreement in place with them that allows them to do so. So I'm gonna start working on diplomacy with President Roosevelt here. I can declare friendship at this point. He's probably going to decline that because he has no experience with me. I'm going to pay the 10 gold to send him a diplomatic delegation like he did with me. He declined it. He's a jerk. Alright. I could declare a surprise war on him because no one else is around and it's still the Ancient Era, so no one's really going to care if I had to go to war, but that would be a really dumb idea. I could denounce him. Which would allow me to declare a formal war in 5 turns, which would lessen the warmonger penalties that I would ordinarily incur outside of the Ancient Era. But we'll save that for later.
I shot an arrow into the air. It fell to earth.
I knew not where. Alright. So, we need more amenities. I don't really know what we're going to do about that right at the moment. But I can tell you we're going to get masonry as our next tech. And just pass time till something happens.
When wasteful war shall statues overturn.
Yes, yes, Sean Bean.
Back over the past.
Yes, yes. So you heard that little musical jingle. That means we've both encountered a barbarian unit and a tribal village. I hope I can get to that tribal village without it getting sniped from me or getting killed by this barbarian. So let's try. Uh-oh. Oh well. Even if our scout dies in the effort, it'll be a glorious death. That's what I'll tell his family, at least. Alright, we're gonna get bronze working next to reveal iron on the map, which is the first strategic resource to which you can get access in the game. And then I'm going to go for drama and poetry as our next civic, because it'll take a while, but we could use it. Alright, we can get the tribal village, so tribal villages work basically the same as ancient ruins do in Civ 5. That is to say, just by walking over the tile, I could get us various bonuses, like a small amount of gold, or faith, or even a builder unit, or a recon unit, or, if I'm really lucky, they'll share the secrets of a tech or civic with me, which will accomplish the same goal as earning a Eureka or Inspiration, respectively. So let's see what we get, shall we? 10 faith, alright. Now we can promote our scout. Pick that one, because there's a lot of wood tiles around. And also because it'll allow us to help kill this Barbarian unit. There we go.
Alexandros ho Makedonimi, Basileos και Παραώ, Χοαεσέτος στρατηγός της Ελλάδος, Αρού ακέκουας περιμού.
I have actually never heard of you. I have no idea who you are. Why are you in my city? Go away. Alright, so this is what I was talking about earlier. We have the jerk option, and what I call the option I always go with. It is an honor to meet you. So I'm going to go with that. He wants to learn the location of my capital in exchange for telling me the location of his. I usually go for that. Unless it's a particularly militaristic civ like India or Sumeria or any place like that that might want to kill me. Now, to be fair, Alexander can be a bit of a militaristic leader, so that might be problematic, but depending on where he is, we may not have to deal with that for a while, but I'm going to go ahead and exchange information on our capitals just to be nice. So he's down there. So he's probably fairly close. I don't know. Alright, that's a Barbarian scout, so you guys are going to go get him.
I'm also interested in creating a lasting...
Alright, you guys are going to heal up. You can heal units by ordering them to fortify until healed, which they can only do when they're damaged. Okay, so we got bronze working. We're gonna get sailing next, just for whenever we settle a city on the coast, which we should probably do sometime soon, honestly. Alright, I will accept your delegation with open arms. Let's see if we can send one to President Roosevelt now. You're a jerk. I named my Steam profile after your mustache, and you do this to me. So I'm going to send a delegation to Alexander. He accepted it, because he's not a jerk. Yet. Okay, so... Oh, right, I can upgrade these guys to archers, but they have to be in friendly territory for me to do so. Let's do that.
Vessels large may venture more, but little boats should...
Alright. You guys get the heck out of there. I don't like you. I'm even gonna send my archers after you, because I really don't like you. What are we gonna get next? We don't have any horses. We don't have any iron either, unfortunately. So we're gonna have to settle a new place. So for now, let's just get the wheel.
The ascent to the highest story is by stairs.
Sweet, we got the
On
wonder.
their side are water engines, by means of which persons, appointed expressly for the purpose, are continually employed in raising water from the Euphrates into the garden.
Alright, so that'll help with our growth.
The poets have been mysteriously silent on the subject of cheese.
And building a wonder got us the inspiration for the drama and poetry civic we were researching. There's no way my scout can win this fight, so I'm gonna just get him the heck out of there. Alright, so... I'm going to start by building ancient walls to help defend my city, then one of these. Then we'll just leave it for now and see what happens when all that's done. Gonna get state workforce next, I believe. Okay, you guys can go down there. Hey, we entered the classical era. Alright. Okay, so we don't have any roads going anywhere, but that's nice that they've been upgraded based on the era we've just entered. Alright, get them, boys. Get them out of our hanging gardens. Alright, you're gonna heal up, hopefully to full before you have to move again. He wants to exchange open borders and give me 4 gold. I have no problem with that, I suppose. Even though he did reject 2 of my diplomatic delegations, because he's a jerk. Alright, so since our archer is obviously a ranged unit, we can attack from a distance without our unit taking damage. So let's do that. That did a lot of damage, actually, because we have that social policy that gives us bonus damage against barbarians. And then this should finish them off. There we go.
Sometimes the wheel turns slowly, but it turns.
Alright, so you guys are going to fortify until healed. You guys are just going to stand there. Alright, what are we getting next? Let's get horseback riding, just because it's only going to take 3 turns, and who knows, we may find some horses by then. Completing our ancient walls gave us the Eureka for the engineering technology, which is really nice, because that'll allow us to make catapults if we ever decide we need to siege any cities. Alexander's mad at us because we haven't been fighting for our people, which he can deal with that. Alright, we're gonna send our archers to go kill that scout. You guys are gonna get back in the city. You can go back to exploring. Let's get currency. We could use some more gold in the capital. And researching the currency technology will allow us to build a commercial hub district, which is all about gold generation. Let's get games and recreation, even though I hate to miss out on political philosophy, because we need to change our government as soon as we can. You guys are just gonna sit in the city like you've always been. Alright, so we're gonna start with a settler, and then a builder, and then a campus, right there. You can see by the little +2 science icon that building that on that specific tile will obviously cause us to generate an extra 2 science per turn. That number can go a lot higher depending on your government and the type of the tile. I don't really know how to demonstrate that at this point, but just I ask you to take my word for it. We shot the scout to death from 2 tiles away, so he won't be reporting anything back to his brethren. We can promote our archer now. Let's just go volley, I guess. That sounds pretty nice. If my scout has no chance, so get out of there. Uh-oh. My scout's just getting beat up. Alright, you guys are just gonna fortify there. My scout has no chance, so he's gonna go that way. Oh, come on now.
Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants.
Alright, so we've got a settler. I don't really see any iron around, which is unfortunate. But we'll figure something out. Where are we gonna settle? Why don't we settle, like, down there-ish? And then we can get Celestial Navigation, because I always forget about that one until it becomes a problem. Yeah, my scout is just screwed, so I'm gonna go ahead and just let him die, as much as I hate to. Weaken the archers with your last breath. We didn't really need that scout anyway, as much as I hate to be dismissive about that. Alright, that's Barbarian Scout. Go get him, boys. Alright, so Barbarians are a bit of a nuisance, because if you're not careful, they can capture your civilian units, like settlers and builders. So what you would want to do to combat that is to create what are called escort formations with combat units. So since my builder and my warrior are on the same tile, I can create an escort formation like so. I can also end it instantly by clicking that same button. And what will happen with an escort formation active is that the units will move together at the same speed, and the civilian unit cannot be automatically captured by any enemies, which is very nice if you're just trying to build some improvements or settle a new city. So I guess you guys are just gonna go build a quarry? I don't know. You guys are gonna fortify again. You guys are gonna settle. Alright, now we've got a road to that city, because it's within trade route range, which is nice. And then we're gonna start by purchasing one of those, just to help our city grow faster. Then we're gonna make a commercial hub, which is the building I mentioned that is all about gold, or the district that is all about gold per turn generation. We're going to make it right there, because that'll give us an extra 2 gold per turn on top of everything that the district can do. And then you guys are going to come down here and start building improvements in the new city.
If bread is the first necessity of life, recreation is a close second.
Alright, so you're going to make a farm. Unless it's a farm. Alright, you guys are gonna go shoot them. That did a lot of damage, actually. Alright, now we can get political philosophy to finally change our government. We can send another envoy to Geneva, who still want us to construct a holy site. We should really get on that, but we have more pressing concerns. Alright, lads. Shoot at them. And then you're gonna come over here and make a plantation on that. What is that, coffee? Okay, nice. Hey there, Phoenix fans. The future editing version of David Sanders here. I've been talking with some colleagues of mine here at Phenixx Gaming HQ, and we've all come to the consensus that in order to make this series more digestible for especially those of you who are just starting out with Civ 6, I should cut it down into shorter episodes rather than having you sit here and watch me play Civ for an hour or up to 2 at a time. So with that said, I'm just gonna go ahead and end things here, and I'll see you next episode. This will become a more uniform thing throughout the rest of this series, which will unfortunately probably double its length, but that is the price that must be paid in order to make this series more digestible, I think. So, as always, you've been watching Phenixx Gaming. My name is once again David Sanders. Thank you very much for watching, and always remember, this channel is nothing without the support and viewership of our fans just like you. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you again very soon.